From an unlucky driver in New York who crushed his own truck with his boat, and a pair of barges playing chicken on the open water, to a cargo ship in China that decided to destroy a crane, and much more. Here are idiots in boats caught on camera. Now you'd think it'd be pretty hard to crash two giant ships in open water, right? Well, these barge captains would beg to differ. It was Christmas Day of 2016. Two barges were heading into port when they wound up sailing toward each other. What ensued was an idiotic game of open water chicken. After the collision, our cameraman moved across the deck to inspect the damage. Look at all that ballast water pouring from the side. If the ship loses too much weight, it could risk becoming top-heavy and tip over. Now, we're not sure where this video took place, but from the looks of it, there was plenty of room to maneuver around. That's why we're leaning toward both captains making mistakes in this video. You have to assume that they saw each other coming. Both of them likely thought the other was going to move. Once they realized there was no avoiding the other ship, it was too late. Luckily, the crash happened near the port, so rescue boats were able to reach them. Whether or not these captains are still sailing is anybody's guess. Shanghai, China is one of only 4 cities in the world to be considered a large port megacity. That's thanks to the Port of Shanghai, the busiest and largest cargo container port on Earth. It has 19 terminals, 125 piers, and services more than 2,000 ships every month. It is single-handedly responsible for 26% of China's international trade. Now, a port that busy doesn't come without its fair share of accidents and idiot boat captains. On August 9th of 2021, a cargo ship full of sand misjudged its entry into Majiagang Wharf. You're about to see how one minor miscalculation can have drastic consequences. Here comes our cargo ship, nowhere near where it's supposed to be. It creeps toward the loading crane, which you can assume is as big as the ship, if not bigger. The cargo ship hits the platform, which causes a chain reaction around the crane area. The support beams snap, and the crane falls into the water. It looks like the arm is about to spin around, but it just falls over backward and lands on the ship. Now, it's unclear what caused this accident. Our captain was either asleep at the wheel or something went horribly wrong in the engine room. Thankfully, nobody was on the crane when it sank. There were also no injuries reported on board the cargo ship. And don't worry, the sand was okay. Santa Marta is a coastal city in northern Colombia. It was actually founded in 1525 by Spanish conqueror Rodrigo de Bastidas, making it one of the first Spanish settlements in the New World. Boats have been coming and going from Santa Marta ever since. On November 16th of 2013, one of those incoming ships was in for a rough time in the port. A slight miscalculation led to some serious damage. It all began when a bulk carrier came into port around 6:30 a.m. While attempting to berth, the captain overestimated his turn. He sandwiched a smaller boat between his and the container ship that was already docked. Things go from bad to worse as the bulk carrier keeps drifting. It smacks into the dock and nearly crushes a much smaller pilot ship. You can even see where the collision forces the front pilot boat onto the dock. Workers scramble to see if anyone needs help. Some of them hop onto the smaller boats to move them out of the way. Meanwhile, the big boat keeps turning and eventually does a complete 180. The smaller boats escaped, but the collision damaged one so badly that it sank. Aerial footage shows 2 smaller boats helping push the big boy out of the way. You can see where those smaller ships are lined with tires, allowing them to push larger vessels without causing damage. Ontario, New York, not to be confused with Ontario, Canada, is a small town in Wayne County, about 22 miles east of Rochester. It's pretty close to Lake Ontario, making it a hotspot for boaters looking for a day of sailing and relaxation. Most boat accidents happen on open water, but for those who can't dock their boats near the lake, they have to tow them from home. Take this New Yorker who just wanted to spend a summer day on the lake. It was July 21st of 2018. He was driving down Route 104 when his boat came dislodged from the trailer. It wound up going over his pickup truck and crashing into other cars on the road. Most of the damage, though, was to our driver's windshield and hood. Judging from the pictures, it looks like our driver was coming up to a red light. When he hit the brakes, momentum carried the boat forward, crushing his pickup. If we had to guess, speed has something to do with this accident. For the boat to end up where it did, our driver must have been trying to beat a yellow light. Just because you're rich enough to own a yacht doesn't mean you're smart enough to drive it. On March 15th of 2014, a captain was sailing his $1 million Princess V57 yacht down the Thames River in London, England. He assumed he'd be able to pass under the famous Richmond Bridge, but the bridge had other ideas.
To je gaza kad lupsića kurva iši istači per... Žiže, ooo... Pizda, žinai, kiek babkių čia kainuos dabar? Žiedar pis. Atbulinį pis kvelnės. Žiže, ragas pakibo, srovė per stipriai.
To the captain's credit, the accident wasn't entirely his fault. The banks of the Thames River had burst earlier in the day, causing water levels to rise. Normally, he would be able to clear the Richmond Bridge, but because the water was higher, his yacht never stood a chance. He didn't know that and sailed like he normally would. Meanwhile, a crowd of English sunbathers watched him try to escape the most embarrassing moment of his life. Water levels eventually fell and the yacht was able to pass. That is, only after he scraped up the side of his $1 million boat and made a fool of himself. Offshore wind turbines are amazing feats of modern engineering. But they don't last forever, so routine maintenance is necessary to ensure we get the most out of them. On April 10th of 2018, an offshore supply ship named Voss Stone was operating near a turbine under construction. While feeding cables at the turbine, the weather took a turn for the worse. The vessel was called back before the waves got too rough. Unfortunately, it was too late. You can see the supply ship bouncing in the rough waters. From what we can tell, they're sailing near the Baltic Sea's Arkona offshore wind farm. Keep your eye on the crane as the vessel tries to escape the storm. It scrapes against the wind turbine, destroying the crane and severely damaging the yellow platform. Now, we're not sure what language our captain is speaking, but project is finished sure sounds like a sabotage job gone right. For some reason, the captain thought this was a good time to test the ship's emergency control system. Something went wrong and he lost total control of the ship. The waves and wind pushed the Voss Stone toward the turbine. By the time they regained control, it was too late. Maybe this was an inside job after all. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.